Not long ago, the technology around unmanned aerial vehicles or UAVs was dominated by a few high-tech companies in the US and Israel. But that technological gap has largely evaporated. Countries like China, Russia, and India have all raced to produce their own homemade drones, both for military and commercial use. But it's Turkey's success with UAVs on the battlefield that has caught the attention of both policymakers and industry watchers. In just a decade, Turkey has become a country that was once reliant on foreign drones to becoming a net exporter and key innovator. In the past 3 years, Turkish military drones have proved decisive in 3 conflicts, including Azerbaijan's victory last year in Nagorno-Karabakh, the Assad regime's attempt to retake the province of Idlib and its millions of internally displaced people was also halted. So were plans by Libyan warlord Khalifa Haftar, whose offensive on Tripoli last year was a disaster for the city's civilians. So how did Turkey's upstart drone industry turn into a world-class innovator? And to answer that, joining me from Ankara is Merve Seren. She is an assistant professor at Ankara Yildirim Beyazit University. And from London, Elisabeth Braw. She is a resident fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Ladies, welcome to Straight Talk. It's good to have you on the program. Merve, how has the Turkish defense industry evolved in the last 2 decades? And what was the driving force behind this development?
Well, actually, you know that there were so many divergences between Turkey and its allies on the regional matters. And I think that brought the desire and motivation to achieve its self-sufficiency in defense. And first of all, over the past 18 years, Ankara has been coping with growing concerns related to its foreign source dependency for critical defense technologies. And it has evolved and deepened since the Cold War, actually, as we see. And you know that Turkey experienced so many disappointments and unexpected cases in its defense industry. For instance, as everybody knows, we have got this United States arms embargo on Turkey between the years 1975 to 78. But on the other side, even in the over the past 18 years, we have witnessed so many direct and indirect arms embargoes by the United States, even not to sell its predators to Turkey because of what happened in Gaza in 2010. So, and the second thing that we can mention there, that owing to the geopolitical risk and opportunities, I think Turkey wanted to reinforce its military deterrence at the regional level, and Turkey wanted to become a key country in its military deterrence and influence in the region. And in order to achieve this, in order to realize this objective, Turkey, wanted to, solve its problem in its localization, nationalization, and strategic autonomy, which will, help Turkey to solve its complex issues stemming from the heavy reliance on the foreign force and foreign alliance.
Yeah, so yes, Elisabeth, why have Turkish drones become so popular? What do they provide different than the others?
Yes, that is an interesting development and maybe surprising to some. The point is that not that many countries make armed drones, and not many countries have companies that make armed drones, I should say. So Turkey is one of those few countries that do have that ability, and so it puts it in quite unusual or rare companies. So the United States, for example, China, Israel, and as I said, Turkey. So that's in a sense an unexpected export opportunity for Turkey, which countries are picking up on and buying these drones.
So, Merve, how has actually Turkish drones' performance in Libya, Syria, and Nagorno-Karabakh been a game changer? And did Azerbaijan's victory over Nagorno-Karabakh come as a surprise to many?
Well, actually, it was not a surprise because that the demand for Turkish drones has been on the increase since 2015. And as you said, Turkey, these Turkish drones are combat proven. So you didn't use them only just in the overseas contingency operations in Azerbaijan, Libya, northern Iraq, East Syria, but Turkey has been also using its own drone systems in Turkey. And that Turkey has become one of the handful countries that has mastery in this drone technology. So first use them in the combat combating terrorism inside the country, and then you started using the operations, cross-border operations. And another thing that I think we have to mention, it's not just only the sophisticated technology, but why Turkey's in the rise in the defense market is that Turkey, when you are comparing with the United States and the Israel drones, I think the Turkey's foreign military sales procedures are less complicated and restrictive than the US and Israel. So the acquisition of Turkish drones are being easier and faster to purchase. And then you also see that when you enter the global drone market, so the countries are looking at each other's procurement choices.
Yes.
So once Turkey has started to sell its drones to Ukraine, to Qatar, and then it has becoming increasingly more attractive for the others. And last thing that we should mention, that political relations are also decisive in procurement options. That, as I told you, so once United States, canceled selling Predators to Turkey,
yes.
or when the Israel, delayed the procurement of the Herons, that the background is also because of the political divergences between the countries.
Yeah. So, Elisabeth, what are the challenges likely to face Turkey if Turkey becomes a major drone producer, rivaling the US and the UK? Could it worry other producers around the world and negatively impact Turkey's relations with other countries?
It definitely could. And the point to date is that it has been clear that the US is the world's sort of top drone manufacturer. American companies are the top drone manufacturers. But what happens if Turkey starts rivaling that? And as we heard, the point of Turkish drones is also that Turkey is a bit less strict when it comes to selling them to others. So what if Turkish drones start being sold quite widely all over the world? Allies, I don't think will take very kindly to that, both because it sort of poses a problem in terms of where they're used and which conflicts they're used, but also because it essentially takes market away from those allies. So it is, in essence, a standoff waiting to happen and probably already emerging.
So, Merve, what kind of advantages do these drones provide on battlefields when compared to other conventional weapons?
For instance, the most important thing that there are so many functions of the drone system. So first of all, you are providing intelligence, reconnaissance, surveillance, and then you have got like target and kill. So first of all, when Turkey started to use these drones, most of them were, at the beginning, at the first phase, they were just for, helping for supporting intelligence, reconnaissance, and surveillance capabilities. But later, then you arm them, and then you produce your own combat drones. So there's a distinction between arming the drones or producing combat drones are totally different. So producing combat drones are something much more sophisticated technology. So you are providing near air support, you are sharing intelligence, current intelligence all the time, you are sharing imaginary intelligence. So you're just protecting your soldier. The boots on the ground are always boots on the ground. And I think, for instance, if you are providing near air support with the helicopters, they're only taking like 2 hours. But if you are providing with the drone systems, they're just 24 hours, they're on the air, and they're supporting that. And another thing that it's creating strategic flexibility in the combat area, and also it has bringing you superiority, operational superiority to your army.
It also helped tremendously Turkey in its fight against terrorism within its own borders. So, Elisabeth, what kind of dangers could this unlimited production of drones pose to international order? Is there any international legal framework which regulate or restrict their production?
Well, it's at the moment almost completely unclear how drones are covered by international law. In fact, they are not specifically covered by international law. So it's really up to countries to interpret international law, and so they if they decide to interpret international law in a sort of a liberal way, they can say, well, drones are not covered, and we can essentially use them as we like. And that is a challenge at the moment. We need some sort of arms control treaty regulating the use of armed drones specifically, but it's unlikely that will happen because so many countries have a stake and have a specific interest in the outcome of such negotiations. So it is essentially sort of almost like the nuclear discussion of our age. Who will go first? Who will volunteer to reduce the opportunities for armed drones in conflicts? It's completely sort of up in the air. Who will take the first step, and whether other countries will follow accordingly.
Okay, so very quickly, Merve, how will it change the warfare in the future? What does the common use of drones tell us about that?
I think that not the drones, but just the unarmed systems will change totally the combat area. So once you are not just only producing unmanned air vehicles, but you are producing unmanned ships, unmanned tanks, unmanned any kind of like vehicles in the sea, on the ground. So I think even your jet fighters, that F-35s will be the last manned jet fighters.
Yes.
Fighters. So I think it's when it's an integration of all the forces. You cannot just change the game in the combat area, but your drone systems. But you are going to change the system with the air defense system, with your missile technology, everything. So I think it's a combination of integration of all the forces that you have got. And it is just only possible to force projection by all of the forces. And just one thing to mention about this, when we were talking about the international law and other stuff, what will be a challenge for Turkey? That in the recent news, you witnessed that the Canada government canceled selling some camps in the drone systems. But you see that when it comes to the international law, as Elisabeth stated, or international law, or the procedures or the criteria, I think what is important is that it's not the selling of the drones, but rather the end user criteria are very important in that respect.
Yes.
So I think it is a matter when Turkey is using, in which combat area Turkey is using its own drone systems. When Turkey using in northern Iraq, in Syria, it was not a really big problem for Canada. But when it comes to the Azerbaijan, it was a problem. They were much more harsher on this issue. But it's that we see that countries are, when they are procuring or accusing, acquiring this drone system, we see double standards among the countries. For instance, Canada is selling, its arms to Saudi Arabia, but why didn't they cancel it?
Yes.
Okay.
Now that we see Turkey will be exporting drones to various countries, lastly to Morocco, Elisabeth, could you talk to us about the economic benefits of Turkey's drone industry? I mean, provides when it comes to job creation, export earnings, and reversing Turkey's brain drain.
Yeah, so the point of drones and armed drones in particular is that they are essentially a new category of weaponry that countries are now all trying to buy, or most developed countries and some other countries are trying to buy. And so that's a huge market that is being populated, as it were. I mean, you can think about when we all migrated from LPs to CDs, all of a sudden everybody was buying CDs. And that's, in a sense, what's happening now on the military market. So it's not sort of a traditional or established form of weaponry that some countries are renewing. It's a completely new form. And so I think for the next few years, we'll see enormous growth here. And that includes, of course, growth in Turkish exports as well. But as I said, the next step will be to see whether there will be some sort of international agreement on limitation on limiting the use of armed drones. But nevertheless, countries will want to have them, maybe just use them less.
All right, ladies, unfortunately, we'll have to leave it here. Thank you very much for joining us on Straight Talk.